Hi, my name is Inbal Sinai, and I'm a senior front-end developer at Salesforce Datarama. By the way, if you're wondering where I am in this photo, I'm right here. I'd like to talk to you today about an internationalization library called Transloco. In an increasingly globalized world, the need for apps to work in multiple languages is only accelerated. And when it came to implementing an existing solution, we discovered that there wasn't one that was actively maintained and that gave us all the functionality and flexibility that we needed. So the ng-neat team of Natan El-Basal, Shachar Kazaz, and Itai Oded created and maintained this open source solution, which has been used ever since by our company as well as many others. Transloco comes with its own schematics, enabling you to quickly set up your app's internationalization. In the basic installation flow, you select the languages you want to support and whether you have server-side rendering. Unless specified otherwise, language files will be created automatically for the languages you've selected. There are also commands for creating scopes, which are essentially subsections of language files, as well as commands for modifying translation files and more. Transloco uses a structural directive in order to enable the developers to easily maintain dry template files. The resulting function is memoized for added efficiency. Also, avoiding the standard method of using pipes everywhere reduces the number of subscriptions to language changes and also reduces the amount of memory that multiple pipes take. Of course, the option to use a pipe still remains, as does the option to use a directive. If you have dynamic values, Transloco's got your back. Just add them to the function call, pipe, or directive. If the strings are nested in a namespace in the translation JSON file, it can be added to the structural directives read input, and that can save on a lot of repetition. Want to use a different language in the middle of your template? Also not a problem. You can easily add it to the structural directive, pipe, or directive. Transloco also gives you easy access to your translation strings in your components through the Transloco service. You can even translate entire subsections of your translation objects. Note that both of these return observables. You also have the corresponding functions without select in their names that return the actual values. Just make sure the translation files have been successfully loaded before using those. We have more functionality in the service, but not a lot of time, so let's go on. Transloco's language files. They are lazy loaded, meaning if a language isn't in use, it won't be loaded to the user's browser. Remember the Transloco scopes we saw? Those can also be, of course, lazy loaded. Just use the Transloco scope provider, and you can load them as part of a lazy loaded module, or in a components providers, or in the template itself. Each of these examples tells Transloco to load the corresponding scope based on the active language and merge it under the scope namespace into the active language translation object. Have a module with its own translation files in the module folder. You can also define inline loaders for those. That enables lazy loading of both the module and the translation files, as well as easy shipping of both. As we've seen, multiple languages can be used simultaneously. But did you know that Transloco also enables you to set multiple language-dependent fallbacks? Just implement your own Transloco fallback strategy with the getNextLang method to determine which language serves as fallback for which. Transloco supports server-side rendering, as we've mentioned. First, you add SSR support through the ng-universal schematics, then install Transloco, and as we've seen, you're asked about whether you use SSR, and finally update the base URL key added to your environments with the relevant URLs. And that's it. You now have Transloco in your SSR app. As an added bonus, you can use the accept language header to automatically determine the preferred language. Transloco also has an ecosystem of plugins which offer a ton of added functionality. One such plugin is the Keys Detective, which lets you know which keys are missing and which are redundant from your translation files. Additional plugins include localization support, language preloading, persisting translations in a provided storage, and more. There are plenty more features to Transloco, but I hope that what I've covered here will cause you to join over a million others and give it a try. That's it for me. Keep on living La Vida Transloco.